Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I come here today full of admiration for the Education Minister and his competence in the education that he himself has enjoyed, which has taken him and put him on the pedestal for all Australians to look up to in this parliament, and has given him the opportunity to bring forth his ideas for us to consider and discuss. I come here too with admiration for the Treasurer, who has gone to university, who has toiled through his university career, and has come here so the nation can enjoy the benefits of that education. But I, like the Treasurer and like the Minister for Education, were the beneficiaries of real reforms in the education sector by Edward G. Whitlam when he was Prime Minister of this country. Neither the Treasurer paid for his university education, nor did the Minister for Education. They never would have got to this place without a university education. They never would have had the opportunity. And the cost of educating someone from primary school through to high school for 12 years is far greater than what we lose in 1 year's unemployment in this country. A good education policy is not only good social policy, it's good economic policy. This country benefits by capturing its resources, and there are no greater resources to be captured to benefit the nation than the intellect of its citizens. And intellect is not distributed evenly across society. It's not a measure of how much money you may have or what your prospects may be, of what you can contribute to the nation. All Australians, wherever they come from, should not be handicapped in going to university. I've got a friend whose daughter recently graduated from university and now has 4 years' debt and can't buy a home. She's newly married. She's got to slog away for 4 or 8 years before she can get a housing loan. When you're 23 or when you're 24, that's the most important time of your life to take risk, to be bold, to do new initiatives. We've seen what's happened in the United States with Google, with Apple, with Facebook, with a whole lot of innovations. Do we really want our young people to leave university, be saddled with debt, be so conservative that they're too frightened to think, to take risks, to stimulate our economy? Because that's what this bill does. It creates more and more cost on students, the people that can least afford it. It zaps their creativity. It takes from them the opportunity for the whole nation to benefit by their endeavours at a time of their life when they can make a real difference. And the Prime Minister has recently said in the last 2 days that there's been a fundamental change in the Liberal Party, a fundamental change in the government, that they're going to listen to what's happening. Well, they're not listening to the people of Australia. They're not listening to the Senate. They're wasting the time of the House of Representatives, because only an idiot expects to get a different outcome from repeatedly doing the same thing, time after time. How many times does the Senate have to reject this legislation before the government gets the message? And the message is this legislation won't pass the Senate. This legislation is through, finished, wind up. Every one of our senators in the Senate will vote no. They won't take an amendment, they won't take a compromise, because they believe the right of all Australians to have a fair and proper education is an indelible right for our citizenship. The right for our people to enjoy a better and a rising standard of living is fundamental to the welfare and the benefits of this nation. And what's all this about? It's about a lie. It's about saying that Australia has too much debt, when we know that our debt is only 12% of our GDP, and we know when Bob Menzies was Prime Minister of this country, our debt was 40% of our GDP, when we know that we're the third lowest debt country in the OECD, we're one of only 13 nations that have a AAA credit rating, yet we're supposed to have an economic crisis. The Treasurer comes out this morning. He says to the Liberal Party that he's got to pursue his cuts. He's got to pursue austerity in this country. While in the United States, President Obama has stimulated the economy, created real growth. It's been so successful that the European Union has done the same thing. And we look around the world and we find Uzbekistan and Ghana, two countries with a balanced budget. We look at the United States economy and we see that for the last 50 years it's only had 12 years of a balanced budget. Are we going to follow the Uzbekistani model in our economy and balance our budget, whatever that means, or are we going to go for prosperity, for growth, for a strong economy and follow the lead of the United States of America? What are we going to do? Are we going to spiral down? Because I tell you what, if these cuts continue, they'll destroy demand in this country, they'll collapse the economy, and we'll never get the budget back to surplus. Because it's only through growth, creating real wealth, that you can really support our economy, support what we've got. So rather than saying that we're going to cut, let's accept the challenge, this challenge to make this country stronger, better. Let's believe in ourselves that we can create greater growth for Australia and greater prosperity. And why does the government go away from the challenge that previous governments have accepted to provide a better standard of living for Australians? Is it that we believe our government and our members of this House don't have the same capability, the same talent as those that went before them to maintain the fight, to keep Australia growing? Is it because we want to give up? And why do we need to continually increase taxes and increase levies and fees that other people pay? Can't this government be as efficient as the last, and the one before it, and the one before that? Are we going to continually sink in a hole of non-performance, negligence and incompetence? This bill will not become law. It will not go through the Senate. It wastes the taxpayers' money by having it considered in this House yet again. And it's just a sign of the political process where an arrogant attitude is prevailing in the government, that they think they can pass legislation through this House without any discussion, without any consultation. And we've seen in Queensland what an arrogant attitude happens. This is a time for the government to change, to listen, to adjust its policies for what's best for all Australians. If they continue down this path, they'll be defeated at the next election. Let's face it, without our preferences they wouldn't be there now. And the reality of it is they don't have the support of the Australian people. We only have to visit universities and talk to the students, discuss with them the difficulties that they have, even coping with the large levels of debt that's burdened upon them, which take away their creativity, to know that will just won't happen. What we need in this country is more compassion and a real understanding of how the economy works, to know how important education is in the economic process, and what opportunity means to be an Australian, to benefit from our assets. That you can't buy success in this country. You can't buy success by just having a lot of money and going to the best university if you haven't got the brains to pass it, if you don't have the ability to compete. Shouldn't we in Australia be hoping that all Australians compete on a level footing so that we get the very best people through our universities? If we go to Japan, China and other parts of Asia, the whole country competes in education performance to get these places. Why do we want to stifle competition? And why do we want to say that you've only got to have enough money to go to university? Why do we deny people that don't have enough money to go to university? I was the beneficiary of a free education and a free university education. I've produced more money for this country than any member in this House, and that's a fact of the matter, and I wouldn't have done it without Gough Whitlam's support and a free education when I was 20, because I couldn't afford to go to university. And billions of dollars of exports would have been lost to this country. That's the hard reality. And you people sit here and deny opportunity for Australians to compete in our economy, to be all they could be. Well, I think it's a great disgrace. It's irrelevant. This bill is going nowhere, Mr Speaker. Thanks very much.
I thank the member for Fairfax for his contribution. The question is that this bill be now read a second time, and I call the member for Hughes.
Thank